What if a thin line on a map turned out to be wrong? And that mistake didn't just change the shape of the land, it also changed history. In the northeastern corner of the United States, there's a small, seemingly ordinary state. But long before it became part of modern America, this region was mired in boundary errors, legal disputes, and barely noticeable mapping errors. This is the story of a hidden geographic error in New Hampshire and how a single line could determine the fate of thousands. To understand it all, we have to go back to the 17th century. At that time, America was still a British colony. Maps were made with simple tools, a crude compass, and manual calculations. Many territories had not been precisely measured. Rivers were used as boundaries, even though their course could change. Mountains served as landmarks, though they were not necessarily mapped accurately. New Hampshire was situated between large colonies like Massachusetts, and this is where problems began to arise. Initially, the boundary between New Hampshire and Massachusetts was unclear. Both claimed parts of the same territory. The problem was simple, but the implications were significant. The latitude used as the boundary was measured incorrectly. Some towns that thought they were part of Massachusetts actually ended up legally in New Hampshire. And vice versa, that small measurement error began to create administrative confusion. Imagine living in a city, and then suddenly the government tells you live in another state. Taxes change, laws change, land ownership is questioned. Some landowners even have to renew their paperwork. Others feel disadvantaged. What seemed like an imaginary line on a map has a real impact on everyday life. At that time, land surveys were conducted without satellite technology. There was no GPS, no aerial imagery. Errors of a few kilometers were not unheard of. Some historical researchers believe that the initial boundary calculations were made using simple astronomical methods, which are prone to error. And by the time the errors were realized, it was too late. The territory had already been settled. The city had already been established. Eventually, the colonial government intervened. Negotiations ensued. Remeasuring was carried out. The official boundaries were re-established after a series of additional surveys. Some territories changed administration permanently. But to this day, the unique shape of New Hampshire's borders still bears the historical imprint of those mistakes. Why do some call it terrifying? Not because of natural disasters, not because of bloody tragedies, but because one small miscalculation could change laws, economies, and even the identity of a region. A single line could determine who ruled. And in colonial American history, the boundary wasn't just about geography, it was about power. Today, New Hampshire stands as one of the United States' most historically rich states. But behind the seemingly perfect modern map lies a story of human limitations, measurement errors, and their long-term impact. Perhaps the truly terrifying thing isn't the error itself, but how easily we've trusted the lines on the map without ever questioning them. And who knows how many other little mistakes remain hidden in world history.